Okay, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over refurbished PCs, both on American and Canadian website. I was going to do the UK, but apparently the UK doesn't want me to go into their website without doing a bunch of steps to get in there. So good luck on that over there in UK. So we're going to look at the Canadian site, which is slightly different than the American site. The American site scrolls a lot like eBay would, whereas the Canadian site, as you notice, plays out like this. Now that might just be my settings or something like that, but that's just the way it displays over here by default. So who's this for? We're looking at budget PCs that we can do slight upgrades with minimal budget, or with just a day-to-day use computer, that whether or not you should keep it with Windows 11 or to switch over to something like Linux, like for example Bazite, or if you're doing an emulator, run Batocera. So when we're looking at something like this, I always skip over the sponsors. So the number one is actually this one, which is the i5 6500 in Canada for 160 Canadian. And I believe this is American, but where is it? The number one bestseller is 278, which is the i7 7700. But I noticed something interesting. You're going to get a fully supported i5 8th gen versus your i7 7th gen for pretty much the same price. Now, what I've noticed with running this on the 7th gen and the 6th gen with Windows 11, even though Windows 11 will work on it, what I've noticed is quirky things. And when I was installing these for a company, every 5 or every 7th or every 10th type of thing, every time you'd be installing Windows 11 on it, and it suddenly, that particular machine, no matter what you did to it, between me and two other techs, wouldn't be able to install Windows 11 on it. So it would go on a separate pile and it would get degraded. The other thing that I noticed is I have a little 6500T for a small, like one of these tiny PCs, one of these small PCs like this. And what I noticed was when you go to plug the monitor in, and it was only one particular monitor, and you'd plug it in, it wouldn't work. And then you'd unplug the other one, and you would then replug the one that didn't work, and you'd put that in, and it would work as a single monitor. But as soon as you try and use it as a dual monitor, it wouldn't work. You'd move it over to any other machine, and it would work. And it was just quirky things like that. And you might plug your scanner in, or your printer scanner in, but the scanner won't work, but the printer will work fine. And so that's what I've found with the 65 and 7th gen, and that's also what they told me too. So these really become very simple day-to-day use, or you can install Linux on it if you're comfortable installing Linux. These will run Linux perfectly fine. For example, I'm running a 4th gen with this particular Bazite and doing this video on it. And so what we're looking at here is these are going to be nice budget little machines right in here. The 6500, the 8th gen, and the 7th gen. These two I would recommend doing, where is it? These two I'd recommend doing like either a Linux build, because as we all know, Windows 10 is going out this October in 2025. So we're looking at kind of moving these on, but as I'm looking at it right now, we're looking at this as probably being your better bet if you're looking at upgrading, especially for price compared to that. Because the 8500 is a 6-core, 6-thread. It's going to be about the same TDP, but you're looking at 2018. The i7 is a 4-core, 8-thread. It is faster, but the thing about that is, like I said, surprisingly at that 7th gen, that's the cutoff, you might run into quirky situations where the processor doesn't like working with Windows 11. The longer Windows 11 goes, the longer or more chances those quirkiness things show up on your PC. So in this particular case, if you're in America, this is probably the better bet to go with, especially if you're games. So games quite often don't use much more than 4 cores right now. Especially if you're doing budget PCs like this. I mean, if you're doing budget PCs with low-end graphics cards, you're not playing those titles that are running 6 or more cores. You're running smaller games, and these are going to be perfectly fine for running those smaller games like this if you're buying this kind of budget. If you've got a $1,500 budget, then yes, worry about those cores and get the i7s or the Ryzen 5s and the Ryzen 7 or 9 series or Ryzen 7 series. So then that's where the budget kind of kicks in. You have to think about that, where this is probably your better bang for the buck. But that doesn't really leave the 6500s out. The 6500 is perfectly fine for day-to-day use. It's a cheaper computer. If you're comfortable using it with Linux, you can. Or you can continue, in this case, run it with Windows 11 Pro. Quite often, these 6500s with the T variant show up in these micro PCs or these small PCs. And they're just very small PCs. I have a couple of them actually. And I'm going to be testing out a 6500 here that I just recently bought. Wonder if I can find that one. It's the HP, this guy right here. So I was able to snag it for 128 Canadian, and it's a 6500. I'm going to try running some emulators on it and then see how it works for day-to-day use with a Linux computer. And depending on how that goes, I might be setting up for game development on that one, just for Battlesair, practicing, doing a little bit of stuff with Godot. And so I just wanted to make this. I'm going to be trying to make this once a month. That way we keep an eye on 6th Gen, 7th, 8th, 9th, how the prices are doing. You can check in and it will sort of show some of these prices as a timestamp, I guess, you can look at. And we'll go from there. So good luck on your refurbished PCs. If you have any questions or anything, leave them in the comments and I'll see if I can hit that in the next video. For example, when I get this, I'll open it up and I'll show you inside what to expect, what you can be looking at for having to upgrade or put a different power supply or anything like that in there. Same with these. I've got one of these and I've got another one with a different brand, but we can go through that and take a look at it if you guys are interested. So if you found this video helpful, subscribe, leave a like, and good luck.